The night sky above Colorado lit up as the small ship tore through the atmosphere. Inside, Kara gripped the controls with four-fingered hands, her pale blue skin glowing brighter with fear. The escape pod was never meant for long journeys, especially not with 4 passengers. "Hold tight, little ones," she said to her 3 children, huddled together in the cramped space behind her seat. The oldest, Zix, tried to look brave. At 12 Earth years, he understood what was happening better than his siblings. Next to him, Lumi, who was 9, hugged their youngest brother Elio, only 5. As the ship shook violently, their skin glowed in matching patterns of fear, soft pulses of light that rippled across their bodies. It was a feature of their kind, the Viridians, who communicated as much through light as through words. "The landing will be rough," Kara warned as mountains came into view below. "Remember what I told you about this planet. The people look like us but don't glow," Lumi recited. "They can't hear our thoughts, and they might hurt us if they find us." Kara nodded. The last part pained her, but it was a necessary warning. Their information about Earth was limited to the transmissions they had received over the years. Humans seemed capable of both great kindness and terrible violence. She couldn't risk her children's lives on hope alone. The ship dropped faster than Kara could control. Trees rushed up to meet them. She pulled hard on the controls, managing to slow their descent just enough. The impact still threw them all forward as the ship crashed through branches and finally slammed into the ground. For several minutes, they sat in stunned silence. Then Kara moved, checking each child for injuries. Finding only minor cuts and bruises, she breathed a sigh of relief. "We need to leave the ship," she said. "It's not safe here." The door hissed open, revealing a forest bathed in moonlight. Cool air rushed in, carrying strange smells. The children hesitated. "Is this our new home?" Elio asked, his voice small. Kara didn't have an answer that wouldn't frighten them more. Their real home, the planet Viridian, was gone, destroyed. By the Crawl, warriors who saw the telepathic abilities of her people as a threat to their empire. Her husband had stayed behind with the other defenders, giving his life so she could escape with their children. "For now," she said simply. "Come." They stepped onto Earth soil for the first time. The gravity felt slightly stronger than what they were used to, making each step heavier. Kara carried what supplies she could salvage from the ship, including a device that could hide their energy signature from any Crawl ships that might follow. They walked for an hour before Zix spotted the cave. It was high on the mountainside, hidden behind a cluster of trees. The entrance was small, but opened into a larger space inside. "We'll stay here," Kara decided. The next days were busy as they made the cave livable. Kara used parts from the ship to create a small power source for heat and light. She fashioned beds from soft materials gathered from the forest floor. Water came from a small stream nearby. The children adapted quickly, as children often do. They explored the area around the cave but never went far. Kara taught them to dim their natural glow when they were outside, a painful exercise for Viridians, whose light was as natural as breathing. 2 weeks after their arrival, Zix spotted him first, a human male walking through the forest below. Their cave. A family retreated deeper inside, watching through a crack in the rocks. "He doesn't look scary," Lumi whispered. The human wore a uniform of some kind, green and brown. He moved with purpose, checking things in the forest and making notes on a small device. He looked up once, toward their cave, and they all held their breath. But he continued on his way. "That's a park ranger," Kara explained, remembering information from Earth broadcasts. "He watches over this forest." Every few days after that, they saw the same ranger. Kara began to study him from a distance. His name was Eric Mason, according to the patch on his uniform. He worked alone most days, and seemed to know every trail and tree in the forest. Sometimes he talked to himself, or sang softly, as he worked out at night. When the children were asleep, Kara would sit at the cave entrance and look at the stars, wondering if any other Viridians had escaped. She missed the mental connection of her people, the constant, comforting presence of other minds. Here, her thoughts echoed in emptiness. As weeks passed, food became a problem. The supplies from the ship were running low, and earth plants weren't always safe for them to eat. Kara tested each new food carefully before giving it to the children, but their bodies rejected many earth nutrients. One evening, as autumn chill crept into the air, Kara watched Eric Mason return to a small cabin at the edge of the forest. Smoke rose from its chimney, and warm light glowed from the windows. It looked safe. It looked like home. Why does he live alone? Zix asked, joining her watch. I don't know, Kara said. Many humans live with others. He seemed sad sometimes, Zix observed. I can feel it, even without touching his mind. Kara nodded. Her son's empathic abilities were strong, even for a Viridian. She had noticed the same thing about the human, a quietness that seemed deeper than just being alone. That night, Kara made a decision. Winter was coming, according to the patterns of Earth weather she had observed. The cave would become too cold, and their power supply wouldn't last much longer. They needed help. The next day, she followed Eric at a safe distance, watching how he helped injured animals and cleaned the forest paths. She noticed the gentleness in his hands, the patience in his movements. Most importantly, she saw how he looked at the stars each night before entering his cabin, with the same longing she felt. I'm going to speak to him, she told the children. When she returned. But you said humans might hurt us, Lumi reminded her, eyes wide. Some might, Kara agreed. But we need help to survive here, and I believe this one, Eric, might be different. She didn't tell them her other reason, that the tracking device embedded in her body by the crawl would eventually lead them to Earth. When that happened, her children would need more protection than she alone could provide. That night, as Eric walked his usual path through the forest, Kara followed. Her heart beat fast, her skin glowing with nervous light that she struggled to control. Everything depended on this moment. She stepped into a clearing just as Eric was passing. The human froze, his flashlight beam catching her blue skin and illuminated eyes. Hello, Kara said in careful English, the word feeling strange on her tongue. My name is Kara. I need your help. Eric's flashlight clattered to the ground. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Kara took another step forward, her hands raised to show she carried no weapons. Please, she said. My children are hiding. In a cave. We have nowhere else to go. Eric stood frozen, staring at the blue-skinned woman before him. His mind tried to make sense of what he was seeing. In his 10 years as a park ranger, he had encountered bears, mountain lions, and lost hikers, but never an alien with glowing skin. You're not human, he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. Kara nodded. We are Viridians. Our planet is gone. We came here to escape those who destroyed it. Eric looked around nervously, half expecting to see cameras or people laughing at some elaborate prank. But the forest was quiet, except for the normal night sounds. And the woman before him was definitely not wearing makeup or a costume. Her skin actually glowed from within, pulsing softly with light. Children? You have children with you? He asked, remembering her words. 3, Kara replied. They are hungry and cold. Our food supplies are nearly gone, and we don't know which. Earth plants are safe for us. Eric ran a hand through his brown hair, a habit when he was stressed. Part of him wanted to run back to his cabin and radio for help. But something in the alien woman's eyes that looked surprisingly human despite their unusual violet, Color made him pause. "Where are they now?" he asked. "In a cave. I can show you." Every bit of training told Eric not to follow a stranger into the woods at night. But this was beyond any training he had ever received. After a moment's hesitation, he picked up his flashlight and nodded. "Lead the way." Kara moved gracefully through the forest, her light making it easy for Eric to follow. They climbed higher up the mountain until they reached the hidden cave entrance. She made a soft whistling sound before entering. Inside, 3 pairs of glowing eyes watched from the shadows. The children huddled together, their skin pulsing with rapid patterns of light that Eric somehow understood meant fear. "It's okay," Kara said to them in English. "This is Eric. He might help us." The smallest child, barely bigger than a human 5-year-old, suddenly doubled over in a fit of coughing. Even in the dim light, Eric could see that something was very wrong. The child's skin, which should have been bright like Kara's, looked dull and patchy. "What's happening to him?" Eric asked, moving closer. "Elio is sick," Kara explained, kneeling beside her youngest. "His body is reacting badly to something on your planet. It started 3 days ago." Eric knelt down too, careful not to make any sudden movements that might frighten the children. He was no doctor, but he had medical training from his time in the military. "May I?" he asked, holding out his hand. Kara nodded, and Eric gently touched Elio's forehead. It was burning hot. "He has a fever. Do your people get fevers?" "Yes, but rarely this high. Our bodies usually control temperature better than this." Eric looked around the cave. It was cleaner than he expected, with makeshift beds and a small device giving off heat. But it was still a cave, damp, cold, and no place for children, especially a sick one. "He needs medicine, proper food, and warmth," Eric said. "This cave isn't helping." The oldest child spoke up in perfect English. "Are you going to tell other humans about us?" Eric looked at the boy, surprised both by the question and his command of the language. "We learn quickly," Kara explained, seeing his expression. "Zix has been listening to your radio broadcasts." Eric thought carefully before answering. If he reported this, scientists and government officials would swarm the area. These beings would become research subjects, probably separated from each other. He thought about his own lonely life since losing his wife 5 years ago. How empty his days felt despite the beauty of the forest around him. "No," he decided. "I'm not telling anyone yet, but I need to get you somewhere warmer, especially the little one." Relief washed over Kara's face, making her glow brighter. "Thank you. I have a cabin not far from here. It's isolated, no close neighbors. Is it safe?" asked the middle child, a girl with curious eyes. "Yes, Lumi," Kara answered. "I believe it is." Eric helped them gather their few belongings. The device that provided heat was the size of a small book, but surprisingly heavy. Kara explained it was their emergency power source. Built from parts of their crashed ship. Eric carried Elio, who felt oddly light in his arms. The child's skin was hot against his neck, and each labored breath worried him more. They walked slowly through the dark forest, with Kara dimming her glow as much as possible to avoid attention. When they reached his cabin, Eric quickly took them inside and locked the door. The children looked around with wide eyes at the human dwelling. Zix touched everything: the wooden chairs, the books on the shelf, the radio on the counter. "Sit here," Eric said, placing Elio on his couch. "I'll get some medicine." He searched through his first aid kit, wondering what would work on an alien physiology. Aspirin? Antibiotics? Could they be poisonous to Viridians? "Kara, I don't know what's safe for your kind," he admitted. "We are similar to humans in many ways," she said. "Our blood carries oxygen like yours. Our cells divide and repair. But some Earth elements are toxic to us. Your plants contain molecules our bodies cannot process. Eric thought for a moment. What have you been eating since you arrived? Food from our ship, mainly. We tried berries, but they made Elio sick. Water seemed safe. Eric went to his kitchen and returned with a glass of water and a bottle of children's medicine. This reduces fever in human children, he explained. We can try a very small amount first to see if it helps. Kara nodded her agreement. Eric placed a tiny drop of the liquid on Elio's tongue. They waited anxiously, but nothing bad happened. After 30 minutes, they gave him a proper dose. Within an hour, Elio's fever began to drop, and his breathing eased. It's working, Kara said, her voice thick with relief. That night, Eric gave up his bed for Kara and the children. He slept on the couch, his mind racing with questions. What was he doing? Harboring aliens in his cabin? What would happen when someone noticed? And yet, looking at the family, for that's what they clearly were, he couldn't bring himself to regret his decision in the morning. Eric called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. He needed time to figure out what to do next. He found Kara already awake, standing by his window and watching the sunrise. On our world, the sun was smaller and redder, she said softly. The light was gentler. Do you miss it? Eric asked. Every moment, she replied, but it no longer exists to miss. The sadness in her voice hit Eric hard. He understood loss all too well. Your children will be safe here, he promised. At least, until Elio is better. Kara turned to face him, her violet eyes serious. And after that, Eric had no answer. He didn't know what came next, only that he couldn't turn them away. We'll figure it out together, he said. A week passed, and Elio grew stronger each day. The medicine worked, and Eric found foods that the Viridians could eat safely, mostly simple proteins and certain fruits. Their bodies couldn't handle wheat or dairy, but they loved rice and apples. Eric called in sick for the entire week, something he had never done before. His boss was concerned, but didn't question him too much. Winter was a quiet time in the park, with few visitors. Living with aliens turned out to be both stranger and more normal than Eric expected. The children were curious about everything in his cabin. Zix took apart his old radio and put it back together, somehow making it work better. Lumi spent hours watching birds through the window, her skin changing colors to match theirs. Elio followed Eric everywhere, asking endless questions in his improving English. Kara was more reserved, always watching, always alert. She only truly relaxed at night when the children were asleep, and she would sit with Eric by the fire. Your world is beautiful, she told him one evening. Different from ours, but beautiful in its own way. What was your world like? Eric asked. Viridian was smaller than Earth, with 2 moons. Our cities were built into the sides of mountains. Light was everything to us. We built with materials that captured and reflected it. And the Krull? The ones who destroyed your planet? Kara's glow dimmed, a sign Eric now recognized as sadness. Or fear. They fear what they don't understand. Our telepathic abilities frighten them. They believe we could control their minds, though that's not how our gift works. You can read minds? Eric asked, suddenly nervous. Not exactly. We can share thoughts with each other, feelings and images mostly. It's how we bond, especially parents with children. She looked toward the small bedroom where the children slept. Without proper bonding, Viridian children cannot develop normally. They need both parents to form the mental connections that shape their abilities. Eric understood then why Kara seemed so worried despite their improved situation. Their father is gone, he said softly. Yes, he stayed to fight so we could escape. The children felt his death. It left a gap in their minds that I cannot fill alone. The next morning, Eric woke to find Kara sitting at his kitchen table with a serious expression. "I need to show you something," she said. She rolled up her sleeve and pointed to a small bump under the skin of her arm. It was barely visible, but when she pressed on it, it glowed faintly red. "What is that?" Eric asked. "A tracking device. The Crawl placed them on all Viridians they capture. My husband helped me escape from a prison camp, but he couldn't remove it without killing me." Eric felt a chill. "They can find you with that?" "Yes, the signal is weak across such distances, but eventually they will come." "Can we remove it now?" Kara shook her head. "It's connected to my nervous system. Removing it would cause severe damage." Eric paced across the cabin floor. "So these Crawl could show up any time?" "Not immediately. The signal must be detected first, then traced. But yes, they will come." "We need to be ready," Eric said. "And we need a better plan than hiding in this cabin." That evening, after the children were in bed, Kara and Eric sat by the fire again. Eric had been thinking all day about what she had told him. "Your children," he began hesitantly. "You said they need both parents for proper development. Is there no one else from your planet who survived? No community somewhere?" "There may be other survivors, but I have no way to find them. The Crawl destroyed our communication systems first. Silence fell between them. The fire crackled. What will happen to them without the proper bonding?" Eric finally asked. "Their telepathic abilities will remain undeveloped. They will feel isolated, cut off. For a Viridian, it's like losing a sense. And they need guidance to control their light patterns, which are linked to their emotions." Eric watched the flames, thinking about his own lonely life. How empty his cabin had felt before Kara and her children arrived. Despite the danger and strangeness of the situation, the past week had given him something he had been missing since his wife died: a purpose, a family. Could a human help? He asked quietly. "With the bonding, I mean." Kara looked surprised. "It's never been tried. Humans don't have telepathic abilities. But you can share thoughts with me, right? You could teach me." "It would be difficult," Kara said slowly, "and incomplete, but perhaps." She reached out and placed her hand on his. The touch sent a strange, tingling sensation up his arm. Suddenly, Eric felt a wave of emotions that weren't his own. Gratitude, hope, and fear all mixed together. He gasped and pulled back. "Was that you? In my head?" Kara nodded. "A simple connection. The children could form stronger ones with practice." "Then let me try," Eric said. "Let me help them." Kara studied his face for a long moment. "You don't understand what you're offering, Eric. In our culture, to bond with children this way is to become their parent in every sense. It is a lifetime commitment." "I understand," Eric said. "I'm offering to be a father to your children." The words hung in the air between them. Eric hadn't planned to say them, but once spoken, he knew they were true. Something about this strange family had awakened feelings he thought had died with his wife. Kara's skin glowed brighter with emotion. "Why would you do this for us?" "We're not even your species. Because they're children who need help. Because you're all alone on a strange planet. And because ... double quotes, Eric paused, searching for the right words. Because my life was empty before you crashed into it. The Crawl will come," Kara reminded him. "Being connected to us puts you in danger. I know. But I was a soldier before I was a ranger. I know how to fight if I need to." Kara stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "On Viridian, we have a saying, 'Family is found in the light we share, not the blood we carry.'" She turned back to Eric. "If you truly wish this, we would be honored to call you family." Eric nodded, suddenly unable to speak past the lump in his throat. "We should begin soon," Kara said. The bonding takes time, and we don't know how long we have before the crawl. Find us tomorrow, Eric agreed. We'll start tomorrow. That night, as Eric lay on his couch staring at the ceiling, he wondered if he had lost his mind. He had just agreed to become an alien father to 3 alien children, with alien hunters possibly on their way to Earth. Any sane person would call the authorities and let them handle it. But then he remembered the feeling of Elio's small hand. In his, the wonder in Lumi's eyes when she saw snow for the first time, and Zix's proud smile when he fixed the radio. And he remembered the touch of Kara's mind against his, the purest form of connection he had felt since losing his wife. No, he hadn't lost his mind. He had found a new family, and he would do whatever it took to protect them. The bonding process began the next morning. Eric sat cross-legged on the living room floor with Elio in front of him. Kara knelt beside them, guiding their hands to touch. "Close your eyes," she instructed Eric. "Try to clear your mind of all thoughts." Eric did as she asked, though it wasn't easy. He felt Elio's small, warm hands in his and tried to focus only on that connection. "Now, Elio will share a simple thought with you," Kara said. "Don't try to hear it. Just be open to it." Eric waited, not sure what to expect. At first, there was nothing. Then suddenly, he felt a flicker of something, like a distant voice calling his name. It wasn't a sound, but more of a feeling, a presence reaching out to him. His eyes snapped open in surprise. "I felt something." Elio was grinning, his skin pulsing with bright patterns of joy. "He heard me, Mother. The human heard me." Kara looked amazed. "This is unexpected. Humans aren't supposed to have any telepathic ability." "What did he send me?" Eric asked. "Just his name," Kara said. "It's usually all a child can manage at first." They practiced for hours that day. By evening, Eric could consistently receive simple thoughts from Elio, mostly names and basic emotions. Lumi was next, and her thoughts came through even clearer. Zix, being older, could send more complex ideas, images of their home planet, and memories of his father. "You're progressing faster than I expected," Kara told Eric after the children went to bed, "especially with Elio." "Is that good?" "Yes, but puzzling. Humans shouldn't be able to form these connections at all." Eric shrugged. "Maybe I'm just open to it? Or maybe humans have the ability, but never developed it." Over the next few weeks, the bonding grew stronger. Eric returned to work, but kept the family a secret. He bought supplies in a town far from his usual places, paying with cash to avoid leaving a trail. He told his boss he was renovating his cabin as an excuse for the extra materials. The children began to change as the bonding progressed. Their skin patterns became more controlled, less reactive to every emotion. Zix could now dim his glow completely, when needed, making it possible for him to go outside at dusk without being noticed. Lumi's ability to match colors grew more precise. She could now blend in with any background, almost disappearing when she wanted to. Most surprising was Elio. The youngest had formed the strongest bond with Eric, and now he could send thoughts that included human words, not just Viridian concepts. One night, as Eric tucked Elio into bed, the boy sent him a clear message. "I love you, new father." The thought hit Eric with such force that tears sprang to his eyes. He sent back his own feeling of love, clumsy and untrained compared to the Viridian skill, but sincere. When he joined Kara in the living room afterward, she could tell something important had happened. "Elio called me father," Eric said quietly. Kara's light pulsed with soft blue patterns. "The bond is complete then. You are truly part of our family now." "I feel it," Eric admitted. "It's like having new senses I never knew were possible. Among our people, this connection would normally take months to form. The fact that it happened so quickly with you." Kara paused. "It suggests you may have some natural ability that most humans lack. Or maybe your children just really needed a father, Eric suggested. Kara smiled, her light brightening. Perhaps both are true. As winter deepened, the family settled into a routine. Eric worked during the day while Kara homeschooled the children. In the evenings, they all practiced their mental bonding. Sometimes, when the snow fell heavily, Eric would take them outside at night to play where no one could see them. The children loved the snow, so different from anything on their planet. Zix proved to be mechanically gifted. He fixed Eric's old truck when it wouldn't start and improved the cabin's heating system to use less fuel. Lumi revealed artistic talents, creating beautiful pictures of Viridian that she projected through her light patterns onto the walls. Elio's strength returned fully, and he grew an inch taller. But despite these happy developments, the threat of the crawl remained. The tracking device in Kara's arm was still active, still sending its signal into space. "We need a plan," Eric said one night after the children were asleep. "Somewhere to go if they come." "We've been lucky so far," Kara agreed. "But luck doesn't last forever." Eric spread a map on the table. "I have an old friend who owns land here, deep in the mountains. There's a hunting cabin so remote, it doesn't even have a road to it. We could prepare it as a safe house. How would we get there if we needed to? There's a trail, barely visible now. I could clear it enough for my truck to pass in an emergency." They began preparing immediately. Eric took a week off work to find the old cabin and make it livable. He stocked it with food, medicine, and other supplies. He created hidden storage spaces under the floorboards and reinforced the walls and doors. When he returned to his own cabin, he found Kara teaching the children self-defense moves from her planet. "We won't just run and hide," she told Eric. "We'll fight if we must." Eric nodded. "I'll teach you what I know too." He showed them how to move quietly through the forest, how to cover their tracks, and basic human fighting techniques. Zix absorbed every lesson eagerly, while Lumi preferred to practice her camouflage skills. Even little Ilio learned how to send distress signals through their mental bond dot as spring approached. Eric realized how much his life had changed in just a few months. His cabin, once empty and silent, now buzzed with life and laughter. His mind, once closed and lonely, now held connections to 4 other beings. He could feel them even when they were in different rooms. Zix's focused energy, Lumi's gentle curiosity, Elio's bright joy, and Kara's steady strength. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Elio climbed into Eric's lap and fell asleep against his chest. Through their bond, Eric could feel the child's complete trust and security. "He sleeps better now," Kara observed. "They all do." "So do I," Eric admitted. Kara reached over and touched his hand. A wave of gratitude flowed from her mind to his. But beneath it was something else, something warmer that she quickly pulled back. "Kara," Eric began, uncertain how to express what he was feeling. "These past months." He was interrupted by a sharp pain in his head. Zix appeared in the doorway, his skin flashing urgent patterns. "Mother! Eric! Something's coming!" Eric rushed to the window. In the clear night sky, a light moved in an unnatural pattern. Too fast and controlled for a plane. Too silent for a helicopter. "Is it them?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. Kara's face was grim, her light dimmed to almost nothing. "Yes, the crawl have found us." Eric moved quickly, grabbing the emergency bags he had prepared. "Get the children. We leave in 5 minutes." Kara nodded and rushed to wake Lumi and help Elio dress. Zix was already pulling on his boots, his face serious beyond his years. "How many do you think came?" Eric asked as he checked his rifle. "Crawl usually send 2 hunters for escaped prisoners," Kara said. "They're confident in their abilities." "Good. 2 we can handle." They loaded into Eric's truck, the children huddled in the back seat with blankets hiding their glowing skin. Eric drove with the lights off, using the moon and his knowledge of the forest roads to guide them. Through their mental bond, he could feel the children's fear. He sent back what he hoped were calming thoughts, though he was still new to this form of communication. "There," Kara said suddenly, pointing through the trees. Eric stopped the truck and looked where she indicated. A small ship, no bigger than a car, had landed in a clearing about a mile away. Its dark metal surface reflected the moonlight. "We need to reach the safe cabin," Eric said, "but we can't risk them tracking us there." Kara touched the bump under her skin. "They're following. This, we need to split up." "No," Eric said firmly. "We stay together. Eric, listen." Kara's violet eyes locked with his. "I can lead them away while you take the children to safety. I'm not leaving you to face them alone." Zix leaned forward from the back seat. "I have an idea," he said. "Mother, your tracking device sends out a specific frequency, right?" "Yes, but we can't block it. We don't need to block it. We need to copy it." Zix pulled out the small power source from their crashed ship that they had brought with them. "I can modify this to broadcast the same signal. They won't know which is real." Eric looked at the boy with newfound respect. "How long would it take? 10 minutes, maybe less." "Do it," Eric decided. "We'll wait here." While Zix worked, Eric and Kara watched the ship. 2 tall figures emerged, their bodies covered in what looked like armored suits. They carried weapons Eric had never seen before. "Crawl hunters," Kara whispered. "They're scanning for my signal." Zix finished his work quickly. "It's done," he sighed, holding up the modified device. "This will send out a signal identical to Mother's." "Good work," Eric said. "Now here's the plan. I'll take this device in the opposite direction from the safe cabin. The crawl will follow me, thinking it's Kara. Meanwhile, you all head to the cabin and wait for me there." Kara shook her head. "Too dangerous. They'll kill you when they realize the deception. I know these mountains better than anyone. I can lose them and circle back." "I'm coming with you," Kara insisted. "The children will be safer at the cabin, and Zix knows the way, but you'll need my knowledge of the crawl to survive." Eric wanted to argue, but there was no time. The hunters were moving in their direction. "Fine. Zix, take your brother and sister to the cabin. Stay hidden no matter what happens. We'll come for you when it's safe." Zix nodded solemnly. "I'll protect them." Eric hugged each child quickly. Through their bond, he sent them all his love and courage. "Be brave. We'll see you soon." Then he and Kara slipped away into the forest, carrying the decoy signal, while the children moved carefully toward the safe cabin. Eric and Kara ran through the trees, making sure to leave clear tracks for the hunters to follow. The decoy device blinked steadily in Eric's pocket. "How good are they at tracking?" Eric asked as they paused to catch their breath. "Very good. But they rely on technology, not instinct. That gives us an advantage." They moved on, heading toward a series of narrow canyons where Eric knew they could set a trap. Behind them, they heard the hunters following, their heavy footsteps crushing branches and disturbing the night animals. When they reached the canyons, Eric led Kara to a narrow passage between 2 tall rock walls. "We need to separate them," he whispered. "They're stronger together," Kara nodded. "Give me the device. I'll draw one away." Eric hesitated, then handed her the decoy. "Be careful. You too." They shared one brief touch, their minds connecting in a flash of emotion too complex for words. Then Kara slipped away down a side passage. Eric waited in the shadows, his rifle ready. He didn't know if human weapons would work against crawl armor, but he had to try. Soon, the first hunter appeared at the entrance to the canyon. It moved, cautiously, scanning with a device in its hand. Eric remained perfectly still as it passed his hiding spot. Once it was past, he stepped out and fired 3 quick shots at its back. The bullets sparked against the armor, but didn't penetrate. Hunter turned, raising its weapon. Eric dived behind a rock as energy blasts hit where he had been standing, melting the stone. From the other side of the canyon, he heard similar blasts. Kara was engaging the second hunter. Eric needed a new plan. The rifle wouldn't work. He looked around and spotted a loose boulder above the path. If he could dislodge it ... he climbed quickly, reaching the boulder as the hunter approached below. With all his strength, he pushed. The boulder teetered, then fell, landing directly on the hunter. The impact didn't kill it, but the hunter was. Pinned, struggling to free itself. Eric didn't wait to see more. He ran toward the sounds of Kara's fight. He found her cornered by the second hunter, her arm bleeding from a near miss. The hunter was advancing slowly, weapon raised. Without thinking, Eric charged, tackling the hunter from behind. They crashed to the ground, the hunter's weapon skittering away. The crawl was stronger, but Eric fought with a desperate strength. Of a man protecting his family, Kara grabbed the fallen weapon and figured out how to use it. Move away, she shouted. Eric rolled clear just as Kara fired. The blast hit the hunter directly in the chest, cracking its armor. The crawl staggered, but didn't fall. Eric grabbed a sharp rock and lunged forward, driving it into the crack in the armor. The hunter finally collapsed. We need to finish the other one, Kara said, clutching her injured arm. They returned to the pinned hunter, who was still struggling beneath the boulder. Using the crawl weapon, they made sure it would never hunt again. In the hunter's equipment, they found a small device that could deactivate Kara's tracking implant. With shaking hands, Eric pressed it against the bump in her arm. The red glow faded and died. It's over, he said. You're free. The sun was rising as they made their way to the safe cabin. They found the children waiting anxiously, Zix standing guard at the window with a makeshift weapon. When the family was reunited, they all embraced, their minds connecting in a web of relief and joy. Did you defeat the crawl? Elio asked, his eyes wide. Yes, Eric said, lifting the boy into his arms. They won't bother us again. What do we do now? Lumi asked. Kara looked at Eric, the question in her eyes as well. Now we live, Eric said simply. We'll need to move somewhere more remote, change our names. The children will need to learn to control their glow completely to blend in. Will we ever be safe? Zix asked. I believe so, Kara said. The crawl won't waste more hunters on a single escaped prisoner. Not when they have a war to fight. That evening, as the family sat together in the safe cabin, Kara performed a Viridian ceremony. She took Eric's hands in hers and spoke words. In her native language. What does it mean? Eric asked when she finished. It means you are now officially the father of these children in the eyes of Viridian law. And ... double quotes, she hesitated. If you wish it, my husband. Eric felt a rush of emotion. Through their mental connection, he sensed her feelings, hope, fear, and something deeper that had been growing between them. I do wish it, he said, more than anything. As they sealed their promise with a kiss, the children's skin lit up, with patterns of pure joy, illuminating the cabin with colors Earth had never seen before. Outside, stars appeared in the darkening sky, the same stars that had brought them together across unimaginable distances. A family not of blood, but of choice, not of one world, but of two, bound by a love that transcended the very definitions of humanity.